Royal Priesthoods. My name is Joshua, and I'm going to be your host, your friend, and your brother. I welcome you once again to this transformative space, and I'm certain that you would find a rest for your soul and transformation needed to live a life that is really worthy of living through the lens of God's wisdom, and also attain a level of transformation that is consistent with the fullness of our being.
Over 4.4% of the world population have fear and anxiety related issues. That is an estimate of over 325 million people across the world. These are recorded data. Now let's just imagine wildly how much more people really have fear related issues. Fear is a very major part of our world today. Fear has limited a lot of people. Fear has killed a lot of people. Fear has killed dreams. It has reduced individuals to absolute nothing. So in today's episode, we'll be talking about the psychology of fear and also the wisdom and the mindset shift that we need to overcome fear. You're going to learn a few things in this episode, and I hope that you're able to apply some of them to your day-to-day life. Let me take you back to the definitions. Fear is defined as a protective, primal emotion that triggers both biochemical and emotional responses. This is the definitions that psychologists have given it. So fear basically alerts us to the danger or the threat of harm, and it might be physical or psychological. Now, one thing I want us to pick up from this definition is that the main issue is really not fear. Fear is more like a trigger system. It is something that happens within a man to inform him of danger or harm. Meaning that beyond the natural feeling of fear, there's something else going on. So for instance, I might be afraid, but beyond that feeling, there could be probably an experience happening in front of me or unfolding in front of me that is causing the fear. So the fear is a trigger. It is an alarm system. It is defined that when a man fears, two responses is triggered within the man, and that is either to face the fear or to run away from the fear. It is called the face or flight response. There are many expressions of fear. We have the phobia, we have the emotional response, we have the biological response, we have the biochemical response, a lot of expressions. One of which I'll make emphasis on is phobia. Phobia is an engineered fear towards a situation or a reality. Meaning that when it comes to phobia can be engineered. Systems can create phobia. So a system can create fear in the hearts of men towards a certain thing. One other fact I want us to also understand is this. Fear causes a universal biochemical change, but emotional responses vary greatly from person to person. Research has found out that if two individuals are exposed to the same kind of fear, although it might cause the same biochemical change, but the effect it has on their person differ. It is why sometimes when individuals are trying to speak about their fear, we don't talk down on how they feel. We don't talk down on their emotions. We don't disregard how they feel, because it has been researched that fear has different impacts. So me and an individual can walk up to something, walk up to a place, and we're exposed to the same traumatic experience, for instance, or an experience or a situation that causes fear. Both of us are not living that place the same way. One is going to be more affected than the other. So fear is a very important thing that we need to understand. It is very important that we understand fear. We understand the psychology behind it. We understand how to deal with it. Because fear can be deadly in its expression. So we need to understand how to deal with fear. Fear is triggered. It can be triggered by situations. It can be triggered by objects. Fear can be triggered by smell, by pictures, by color. Anything can trigger fear. And you know the interesting part? There is a kind of fear that is hereditary, meaning you were born with that kind of fear. It's why you would notice, for instance, some people are more afraid of closed spaces. Some are more afraid of height. Some are more afraid of water. There's a kind of fear that is hereditary. And psychology has made very groundbreaking researches on how to deal with fear. Two major ways is the systematic desensitization and the flooding, one of which an individual is exposed to a series of situations to reduce fear level and hopefully eliminate it. So what they do is they expose an individual to situations that surround your fear. Let's say, for instance, I am afraid of water. What they do is they bring me in close contact with water in bits in hopes to reduce that fear or to eliminate it. And then the other way is flooding. And flooding is focused on phobia. Now remember, I said earlier that phobia is engineered, meaning that a man or a woman, as the case might be, can be engineered into a phobia. So sometimes you are not born with a phobia, but you grew up, and it is majorly from experiences that we might have had, either it's traumatic, throughout, or any of these cases. Flooding is targeted at phobia, and what they do is this: they expose each individual to the root cause of fear in a controlled environment for a prolonged period of time. Now, I'm taking my time to talk a little bit around the psychology of fear. But one of the things I want us to understand fully about fear is that there are different kinds of fear, and there can be a method that does not work to eliminate a kind of fear. That is why we have a lot of people that are going for therapy, trainings, exposed to teachings, just to deal with fear. But at the end of the day, they do not really get better. So I've taken out my time to study from the wisdom of God's word. Why is this so? Why is it that certain fears can be addressed in certain ways, and for some it doesn't work and for some it works? That is where I'm going to be focusing this episode on, so that you can identify your kind of fear and you can deal with it. And I hope that you get that shift and deliverance that you truly need. In the writing of Paul to Timothy, speaking about the gospel, Paul made a very interesting statement to Timothy in a bit to encourage him. And he said that, for God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, of sound mind, and of love. So Paul was speaking to his spiritual son Timothy, communicating to him about the gospel, but made this interesting statement. When God designed man, and now that we have believed upon his name, now that we know him, one of the things that has been excluded that we should not experience is fear. So in the place of fear, we have been given the spirit of power, of a sound mind, and of love. These three are structures that address different kinds of fear. Let's deal with the first one. There is a fear that is directed particularly at our purpose. There is a fear that is engineered by forces beyond this realm, that is engineered by forces that the eyes cannot see. This kind of fear is to limit people from coming into realization and further fulfilling that which God has created them to be. Is why we have a lot of people that might have visions of the future, that might have desires for the future, great ideas that God has placed within them for them to live out in their generation. But a lot of them has been caught out by fear. This kind of fear does not respond to therapy. This kind of fear responds to power in the place of prayer. When it has to do with purpose-oriented experiences, one of the ways to deal with that kind of fear is solely by prayer. So if you are in a position where you know that there are a lot of things that you want to do, there are a lot of visions you've had, God has shown you dreams and things, but then you are just afraid to start. You are afraid to step out. It could be because the enemy has seen it, and then you have either been placed in a circle of sin, in a circle of doubt. It could be anything. But those structures have created phobia in your heart that you now begin to speak to yourself. One way to identify that also is it reduces your self-worth. You are not able to make sense that someone like you can actually champion this kind of idea. someone like you can actually push out this kind of vision that you have said. When it has to do with fear targeted at your purpose, your line of defense is prayer, and that's because you have been given the spirit of power. So you need to know how to tackle it. There's another kind of fear that can be addressed by sound mind. This is fear that is targeted at things that you want to do but you have no idea about. For instance, you want to start a business, you want to go into marriage, you want to start a vision, you want to start an NGO. These are knowledge-based fears. These are knowledge-oriented fears. They are not necessarily fears that would impact your purpose directly, but they can. But they are fears of the unknown. When it has to do with the fear of the unknown, the remedy to that is information. Seneca, Roman Stoic philosopher, he said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Many times when you want to begin something, it could be anything that your mind has been set to do. One of the things that you are limited by is imaginations. What if it does not work? What if it does not prosper? What if this happens? What if I start and fail? There's a lot of suffering that happens in our imagination than in reality. Have you ever tried to make a dish for the first time? Probably you wanted to cook in larger quantity for friends or family, and then there's just a lot of things going on in your mind that what if this goes bad? It's a fear of the unknown. One of the ways to address that kind of fear is information. Get information around the things you want to do, because those information would instill in you discipline. Ralph Waldo said, he said, do the thing you fear and the death of fear is certain. The second thing you can do after you must have gotten adequate information around that subject matter is to face the fear. Do that thing. So instead of wailing and delaying and not expressing yourself, face it. If you don't face your fear, they cannot die. So why you think a million thoughts, why you suffer in your imaginations of things that you are not sure would come out well, face that fear. Get information, then face the fear head on. Get adequate information, be stocked up with knowledge. Create a structure of discipline, then face that fear. I promise you, when you face that fear, it dies. There are two aspects of the brain which coordinates and responds to the fear stimuli. We have the amygdala and we also have the prefrontal cortex. Now, Mr. A and Mr. P, I'll use that as reference. So when Mr. A signals fear, anything that could cause fear, Mr. A signals fear to Mr. P. But scientists have found out that your response to that fear is dependent on the kind of information that resides in your prefrontal cortex. Meaning that when your brain signals fear to you, if you face the fear or you run from it is based on the information in your prefrontal cortex. That is a very powerful revelation, even from science. This is why you need information towards certain fears, especially the ones that are directed to your productivity. You need information, strong information, information from the wisdom of God's word, information about the things you want to do. You need a knowledge bank so that when the stimuli of fear begins to come into you or they are signaled to you, there is enough information to tell you that no, you can deal with this. And the last kind of fear we're talking about is fear that is directed to relationships. A lot of people do not have great relationships because of fear. It could be fear of hurt, it could be fear from hurt, it could be fear of stories that they have heard about friendships, and it could be anything really. The remedy to that kind of fear is love. Yes, love. Have you noticed that one of the reasons why a lot of relationships fail is because there's no love? Everybody just has this mindset of, oh, this relationship is transactional, it is this, it is that. But when you really check the fear that ruins relationships, one thing you would notice is absent. It is love. If you want to deal with the fear that is directed to your purpose, you stay in prayer. Fear directed to your productivity, you go for knowledge. Fear directed to relationships, you go for love. These are structures to make sure that we overcome fear. Fear is an illusion. It responds to information. It responds to the words in your mind. So fill up your mind with words. Fill up your mind with the right words, with the right revelations from God's word, and face fear head on. If you do not face it head on, it will come after you. John F. Kennedy says, "Do not pray for easy lives, pray for stronger men." Stronger men are men that have shaped their mindsets with information that builds up their spirit, information that builds up their mind, so that when they come in contact with fear, there are a lot of things you will do afraid. We would always feel fear. The difference is how we respond to it. We are expected to respond to fear by facing it head on and dealing with it. Remember, when you do the things you fear, the death of fear is certain. So when you know exactly what to apply to a kind of fear, that fear dies a natural death. Are you being pulled back by fear in purpose? Go on your knees and pray. Are you afraid when it comes to your productivity? Seek information, seek knowledge, and face the fear head on. Are you afraid when it comes to relationship? Settle for love. Love is patient. It is kind. It is not jealous. It does not brag. It is not arrogant. Are you seeing now? Many of the fears you have in relationships and for relationships are conquered in love. Love does not act disgracefully. It does not seek its own benefit. Love is not provoked. Love does not keep an account of a wrong suffered. Love does not rejoice in unrighteousness. It rejoices in truth. Love endures all things. Love is the response to fear in relationships. I hope you have learned a thing or two about fear, and I hope you've picked up an ideology or a mindset shift when it comes to dealing with different kinds of fear. I hope you apply this to your life. I hope you apply this in the area in which you feel fear, and I'm certain and hopeful that you will get the result you want. So go out there, because fear focuses attention on danger, but wisdom looks beyond danger and identifies the opportunity hidden within it. At the other side of fear is the opportunity you are looking for. Stop focusing on the danger. Stop focusing on the negatives. Start focusing on the opportunities. You have to labor with the word and make your mind see it. You have to fill your prefrontal cortex with information it needs to respond whenever your body sends a stimuli for fear. This works. You don't have to live your life in fear anymore. There is a way. You have the spirit of power, of love, and of a sound mind. If you believe this and you apply this, you can live a life that is victorious over fear. And that is the kind of life I hope that you live. Until next time, I remain your host, your friend, and your brother.